Welcome to the Freakshow podcast. Today we're going to be talking about the case of Mallory Jessie and what happened to her on that night. A little over a month ago, Mallory Jessie had a random disappearance, or so everyone thought it was so random. Apparently, we found that she was attacked by this man with a sack over his face and a big baggy green coat. Along with the attacks on Mallory, there were two other people found dead that night, along with another one of her friends that disappeared that night. The two that were found dead, one was named Ethan and the other was named Trenton. Each were found dead in different ways. Trenton had taken a very harsh beating, and Ethan seemed to be hit by a car. The third friend, Rafael Santiago, was never found. No one knows where he went, but people have found videos and pictures posted online from him from some anonymous user. Could this user be his captor? One of the things we were able to retrieve from Mallory's house before she went missing was a handwritten note that almost seemed to be therapeutic for her, explaining what happened that night.
This is what it read. Myself and a couple of friends decided we were going to pull a prank on another one of our friends. He was always pulling pranks on us anyways, so we all thought it would be decently funny. However, what was supposed to be a fun and quick scare and then a hangout ended up being a night long of fear and bloodshed. My friend Ethan had gathered Trenton and I together, and we walked all the way out to specific coordinates that we sent to our friend Rafael, who was the one being pranked. The three of us hid behind some construction wrappings and shrubbery as Ethan put on this plain white tacky mask. He stretched the skinny black strap and the mask bowed with it. Then he let it go and the mask quickly snapped back to his face. Ethan told us our plan as to how we were going to be scaring Raphael. We were going to hide out here while he went to go scare Raphael by jumping out in front of his truck. Then the two of us were going to sneak inside the back seat of the truck. After that, we were going to jump and scare him when he hopped back in the truck with Ethan. We all put our phones on silent, and we silently waited for what seemed like an hour or two, even though it was realistically just a matter of 15 to 20 minutes. It was very warm out that day. I don't know how Ethan kept on that white mask and that bulky black hoodie. We soon heard the gradually growing sound of Raphael's truck getting closer and closer. Then we saw it just barely, and the three of us all ducked down together. I glanced over at Trenton and Ethan, but all I got to see of Ethan was the back of his head before he was jumping in front of the moving truck. For some reason, this guy had no regards for self-preservation. I was surprised that I was friends with the man. He either was expecting Raphael to be paying attention and to stop the truck before hitting him, or was too stupid to recognize this was a bad idea. Luckily, Raphael slammed on the brakes and Ethan jumped back and almost underneath the truck. He then crawled out from underneath and started crouching underneath the hood. We saw a pair of shoes and faded jeans hop out of the truck, and Ethan ran up on them. For a moment, they confronted each other, while Ethan was telling this person, supposedly our friend Raphael, how funny his expression was. They had a bit of an argument while Trenton and I tried to figure out if we were supposed to be doing something or not. By the sounds of the conversation, neither Raphael or Ethan sounded too happy, and it didn't seem like it was a good time to keep trying to pull a prank. Trenton and Ethan explained the idea really quick and how Raphael ruined it for them. I just stood there and watched. I was embarrassed at how ridiculous all this was. I was embarrassed at how I was friends with these people. Then we sat and waited for Raphael to check out his truck as he explained it was slightly damaged. Before much else was said, a rough-looking man with a corn sack over his head jumped out and grabbed Trenton by the throat, wrapping his arm around his neck and pulling him behind the truck. Raphael and Ethan immediately took off, and I stood there in shock for a moment before realizing what was actually happening. I felt blood rush to my head, and I felt my veins bulge out of my face. So many thoughts went through my head, and the first one that I picked was to sheep away with the other two. We heard Trenton's muffled yelling and screaming and pleas for help that was soon shuttered by a metallic thud sound as we ran through the field. We then laid down for the most awkward couple of minutes of our lives. We were waiting for Raphael to call for help, but with just our luck, he had no service whatsoever. We started to hear sounds behind us, but dismissed it as an animal of some kind. I mean, really, how could someone get behind us so quickly? It didn't matter. He had come behind us. The same scruffy man with a newfound string of blood across his shoulder jumped out, grabbing Ethan and rolling down the rest of the ditch we were perched on. Utter fear took hold of me. I was sitting right next to him. It could have been me, but it wasn't. That man in his musty green coat lunged out, grasping another one of our friends. These were the thoughts that were blinding me at the time while I was running. Then I was surprised to see Trenton had jumped out in front of me. I was instantly relieved. I snapped back and made sure he was okay. He was bruised and had a bloody nose, but he was conscious, and that's all that mattered. The sun started to set, and Trenton and I decided to get out of here. We decided to go see if Raphael's truck was unlocked. We could at least hide in the car until he got there, and then we could try to repair the little amount of damage and get out. We were, of course, worried about Ethan too, but you have to save yourself if you want to save others. Never go back. That is what we told ourselves as we walked a shameful quarter of a mile back to our truck where we started. We arrived at the truck. We tugged on the door. Nothing. The doors were locked, and there was no way of getting in. Then Raphael rolled out from underneath the truck. He was now covered in sweat, grass stains, and maybe the slightest bit of oil. He explained to us that we just needed a new tire. Everything else was already taken care of, or never even damaged in the first place. The initial damage we thought was there wasn't that bad, factually. Trenton and I rolled the only spare we had up to the truck's damaged wheel. Then we saw the long shadow leer over just in front of the truck. It was that man again. He had the slightest hair on his right elbow now, and had grass stuck and caught up in his corn sack mask. Trenton decided that he was going to stall him for as long as he could. It's either fight or die. Something of the last words I ever heard of him. He started to walk away, and then I instinctively followed. I don't know what made me do this. I just did. It felt right after all. We slowly walked up, and the man stood stone. The wind was blowing his baggy clothing through the air while he himself stood motionless. His shadow blackened the sand in front of him, and it seemed all light died out the closer we got. Trenton then started sprinting, and I soon followed. He hit Trenton once and sent Trenton flying with a harsh crunch sound. Then another crunch sound, and my eyes flew up with a strong force, and I gazed at the stars for a moment as I heard a few more air-ripping snaps. Then everything went dark. I woke back up soon to see Trent was gone. All that was left there was a trail of blood dressed along the grass blades in the sand. The sun was setting, further and further, with no time to waste. The night grew nearer. I was able to stand up and run back to the truck in a burst of adrenaline. The truck revved up and its powerful sound echoed through the air. I jumped into the back of the truck where Raphael had put the old blown-out tire. I sat in it. It let out this slight huff sound and then a squeal. The truck then started to take off before again halting ever so sharply. I jolted forwards and then backwards, hitting my head on the glass window directly behind me. Everything went black again. I got up before it was too late, luckily, and I took off as fast as I could with an almost concussion. I felt my bones ache and my muscles tire. I got about 1.5 miles away before hearing another faint scream fill the now darkened sky. I ran in a straight line until having to carefully jump over the back of our community gate. I was so tired I just ended up collapsing into the ground there until I was later awakened by the county police. I guess someone had seen me and called for help. I was ever so grateful that someone with the goodness in their heart found me compared to someone like that monster back there. The next day, I was taken home from the hospital just for the police to come collect me to ask what had happened. They asked me to try to recollect my memories, and that it was okay if I couldn't right then and there. They can always come back to ask if I couldn't quite collect my memories yet. This is my way of recollecting them. This is also my way of releasing them to never have to relive them again. October 19th, 2023. Signed, Mallory Jesse.
Somewhere in the span of 1 to 2 weeks, she disappeared. Not a trace of her was to be found. We have a police report from the night this all went down.
2 males found, both with fatal wounds. One's got a skull fracture, it seems. The other has an open rib cage. It seems he was hit by this truck here. Whoever's in the truck, though, tried to swerve out the way.
Truck's been totaled. Hood is entirely caved in. Front axle snapped. To add on to this, the entirety of the windshield is shattered too and non-present. There's blood on the steering wheel. Quite a lot of it, actually.
Hold on. I think we've got movement.
Do you think it's a boar?
Too large for a boar. Hold it. Watch your left. Call for help. We need immediate backup. Moving hostile attacked Officer Brand. We're out by the cul-de-sac in the back of that new community. Whatever that thing was is wounded and afraid. It'd be a stupid decision for it to return here now.
You can't hear me. Nope.
The official police report read, 2 dead individuals, 1 black male with a fractured skull and a snapped neck, 1 white male with a burst rib cage seemingly from being hit by a truck. There was a totaled truck there as well, was extremely damaged and had blood all over the hood and front grate, as well as the steering wheel. There was no security footage of what had happened here. Officer Brand was attacked by a large piece of pipe. It could have been stripped off that truck. As Brand says, it was wet with oil or some other fluid. Upon retrieving Brand as well, he had a black mark of oil, a bruise, and blood on the right side of his chin. Officer Toy managed himself well and protected Brand well too. Toy was for the most part unscathed except for a few mosquito bites and 1 bruise from where that creature grasped his left abdomen. Their body cams showed this. We lost him. Call some more officers into the back of that new community. You got a problem. You just disappeared into the middle of the bushes and shrubbery. Moron. Almost running us over. We're making our way back right now to the county car. Officer Brand says that he thought maybe he went down there in that path right there. Oh.
Hey guys, how's it going? So, what's going on? What are we doing here?
We brought you here to ask you about what happened that night.
Yeah, it was a hard night for everybody, especially those that we lost.
Who'd you lose?
Obviously, my sister, Mallory, and some of her friends. So that was a pretty hard loss. But
I'm so sorry.
yeah, it was a pretty strange, pretty scary night. I never thought something like that would ever happen to me, and it was really, it was a challenging loss. I never thought I would lose my sister to some, maniac in the middle of nowhere with all of our friends. I thought, we'd get to live the rest of our lives and it'd be normal. But
That's so sad.
it's very,
Middle of nowhere, where was that?
it's a very emotional night. What?
Middle of nowhere, where was that?
They're like out in the woods. I don't know. I forgot what we were doing. Really, it was just.
Were you scared?
I was very scared. It was a very scary experience.
What did he look like?
I don't know. He had a mask on, some baggy, bum clothes.
Was it dark?
It was like, evening. I guess it got dark out.
So you had time to see all that when you were scared and it was dark out?
Yeah, I was there. Obviously, it's not that hard to see in the dark when the moon is out.
But you were running for your life and you had time to stare down the killer?
I had time to see what he was because he was killing my sister. I'm sorry. Do you have a problem?
Why weren't you
This is a
scared?
very emotional time for me. Okay, I just lost my sister, and you're here. Are you accusing me of something?
Don't accuse him. This is a sad time for him.
Okay.
You couldn't save your sister? You just ran?
I had no time. She was already dead.
You know what?
We
In
were
fact,
we were all trying to escape.
We actually have a letter report from Mallory of exactly what happened that night that she wrote before her disappearance about 3 days later. Do you recall any specific events as to what happened or when anyone was taken?
No, it was just mainly a blur, obviously, because I'm running scared, trying to escape the killer, and like I said, everything was a blur, It was obviously a really scary night. Like you said, it was dark, so I couldn't see everything, but I could obviously see the killer. But
it was a blur.
it was a blur. Just like I said, the events were a blur. I don't remember specifically what happened, but I know what he looks like.
Are you gonna do anything to find the killer?
Maybe.
Maybe. You
Maybe
don't love your
I'll-
sister?
I do love my sister. I love her very much. Okay? This is why this is a very emotional time for me right now.
It is emotional.
Thank you. I will do everything in my power to find and catch the killer.
That's
From our
amazing.
understanding, the police has been searching for this man for about 3 to 4 days now, and they have no trace of him. And their only report of him was of him attacking and almost killing an officer.
Yeah, it's a pretty tragic moment. This guy is obviously a maniac and he needs to be put down.
Right.
So was your sister killed or was she taken? Oh, I'm confused here.
She was taken, obviously, and most likely killed, presumed to be killed. I mean, do you know where she is?
But you said you couldn't save her because she was already dead. You're saying
Exactly.
she
I
was
wasn't
taken?
home at the time. She was dead.
But I thought it was in the woods. Why would
That was the attack. The initial attack was in the woods. Like he said, she was taken 3 days later, and I couldn't save her. She was gone too quick.
You're telling me your sister was facing the threat of death and you weren't home to protect her?
You know, I have my own personal life. You know that, right? She's an adult. She can take care of herself, I thought. But I'm my own man. I'm an adult, okay? And I have priorities. I have things to be doing. I have work. I have my own family to take care of. I can't just be around my sister's house all the time.
But it's okay. I mean, he went through something really tragic.
Thank you.
But all the friends you said you were there with, I spoke to some of them and they said you left an hour before anyone else showed up.
Yeah, man, you're tripping, dog. I don't know what you're talking about, but I gotta go. I'll see y'all later.
The killing seems to be happening on such a large scale. Is it really, I mean, at this point, are we still looking to local authority to figure this out, or should we get the FBI or CIA scaled investigation going on?
It really has only been a couple of months for it, but in my honest opinion, I do believe we should get a larger force working behind this guy because he was able to attack those officers with ease. He killed 2 people and kidnapped 2 others.
The way he's able to go through with these, leave nothing behind, and then do it again, I mean, something about this just seems supernatural. Nothing about this seems normal, like anything we read in history books.
I know he's either got to be either one of the most intelligent we've ever found, or there's some other force that he's working with.
Do you think there's anything else that this guy could have done?
I honestly do believe so. There's been a lot of disappearances that randomly spiked in the last couple months when this guy shows up at the same time.
So they could be connected.
Honestly, I believe so. I believe everybody here could have some ties and a big ring.
I mean, what's the intention behind this? I mean, a small town with not a lot going on, nothing majorly happening here in the past, I want to say 5 decades, 50 years. There's got to be some reason for doing this, but it just seems so random.
That's the thing. It feels so random, but to him, it probably feels like the perfect opportunity. Like you said, a small town, not a lot going on.
Maybe exactly what he wanted.
Exactly. He could have been looking for a place like this. He could have been hopping from location to location, just looking for a small town.
If you ask me, this screams witchcraft.
Honestly, it could have any sort of supernatural force behind it.
I mean, it's a pretty big deal. People are kind of ignoring it, acting like it's nothing.
I mean, I say we figure this out. I say we look at patterns. I mean, full moons, blood moons, what are the tides looking like? This has got to be some sort of ritual. These random killings can't just be random.
He has to have a reason, some sort of a rhyme scheme or anything to what he's doing or why. And the police can't find anything. I guarantee you they haven't looked at witchery or ritualistic killings.
So what would be our first step?
All we can do is report about it. I mean, if we were to try to take something like that into our own hands, I mean, we could. We always could. We can just take a camera crew and go out there, but then again, we're putting our lives on the line, and that's where I draw the line.
Can't keep up with this.
Tinky.
Oh. Alright, Tinky. Time to get to bed.
When times all pass with the wind, your hand in mine still surrender, and you make the sun shine here. Down while you pick wildflowers, I send you a soft I know every road you took, your was for the truth, and the clouds that's gathering now can't last for long. Storms never pass, do they, baby?
Yeah, I'll be back later.